Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk live on YouTube and StreamYard.com. It is your golden MF Michael Flecha, alongside my good buddy Anthony Florio. We are awaiting the presence and the entrance of Michael Bullock. If he comes in tonight, then great. If we do not, then that's fine by us because we got a lot to talk about here, not a lot of time. And tonight we are talking about Smackdown Live and AEW Rampage. So with that said, we start off with SmackDown Live, and we started with a match. The I guess you can call it the quarterfinal match in the WWE Women's Tag Team Tournament, as it was Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah going up against Xia Li and Shotzi. When it was all said and done, the winners of the bout in 9 minutes and 35 seconds and advancing to the semifinals of the tournament that now awaits the winner of the Sonya Deville, Natalia versus Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark. That match is next week on SmackDown. However, Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah advances to the semis. They win the match in 9 minutes and 35 seconds. Solid opener. It was a pretty good match. I kind of felt like it could have gone a number of ways, but I think the outcome was never in doubt. It was basically you saw how great they worked. Definitely Raquel is the power of the two. Aaliyah is the quicker and has more of the finesse of the two, and they really shine. But give credit to credit's due for Xia Li and for Shotzi as well. They both looked really well, and you could notice the emphasis in this match, in this matchup. I felt like it was a lot more better than even expected. I think a lot of people were very impressed with the way that this opening match went down. I could say about maybe 2.5 stars. I thought it was a fair match, but the outcome was never in doubt, and that's the big thing. I think Raquel and Aaliyah were penciled to win this match. I think everybody had them in their bracket going into this. Even I had them advancing. I kind of felt like they probably were going to be the ones to go over in this match. But at the end, this was the right outcome. Well done. And really an emphasis in the women's division, as you can notice, all four women really going at it. All of them had spots, and there was a little bit of some chicanery because Sonya and Natalia were at ringside, so you can notice that they were lurking around. However, they kind of in a way did get involved, but it almost is. Could that be a tell of what the semifinal could look like? If Nikita and Zoe has anything to say about it, absolutely not. They want to go through because they want to be the NXT squad to shock the world and really have themselves a foot at the table here, along with the Raw and SmackDown women. That was the one thing that we always were talking about, and we're thinking, we're like, wait a minute, this whole time, why hasn't NXT been established? They could go after the WWE Women's Tag Team titles if they wanted to. Yes, I know they have their own tag team titles in NXT, currently held by Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, but there was always a theory and there was always a feel that the NXT women deserves a shot at the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Well, now that Triple H is in control, along with Stephanie and Nick Khan, now you're starting to see the fruits of the labor. Now, I doubt that they're going to win the match. I don't know. I kind of feel like Natalia and Sonya is probably going to go over because of what happened tonight, but it does open the door for maybe Nikita and Zoe to make a big run here. If they get there, what a matchup that could look like with Aaliyah and Raquel versus Zoe and Nikita. The crowd would be chanting NXT all over the place for that night because by the grace of God, all four women, all byproducts of NXT. So is Natalia. So is Sonya, because they also came from NXT. However, these would be the four most recognizable names from the NXT crop, especially now. Young, beautiful, talented, and definitely going in the upward trajectory. And that's all four women. If they get to the semis, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Next week, Natalia and Sonya versus Nikita and Zoe. We got that. But Anthony, tonight, Aaliyah and Raquel punched their ticket to the semifinal, joining Io Sky and Dakota Kai for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles.
MF, the match was fine enough for what it was, but beyond the quality of the contest was the fact that the women's division was highlighted in the opening segment with neither Ronda Rousey nor Charlotte Flair to be found. 4 NXT exports did battle in a high-stakes bout, with Rodriguez again benefiting from the spotlight with another quality win. She and Aaliyah may seem like a makeshift tandem, but given the brackets as we know them, do not be surprised to see the babyface tandem make it all the way to the finals and potentially even win the titles. Shotzi and Xyla Lee look solid here in defeat and should benefit from increased screen time and in-ring opportunities under the new regime. So I'll give it about 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a star. And you notice during the match, Raquel and Shotzi set their differences aside and took out Sonya and Natty at ringside before brawling entering the break. The near fall of Shotzi's sliced bread number 2 was a strong spot, and that's really all there was to it on this. Right team won, no question, and now they got to go up against either Natty or Sonya or Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark of NXT 2.0, and we'll see that next week in Montreal. So we'll wait and see. So 2.5, 2 3/4 for this effort here. So I'm not surprised by the outcome. So not much more to say. MF, let's set up the next segment, match, or whatever it is.
Well, it's going to be a segment. It was Drew McIntyre as he was talking about what happened last week. Of course, we had a promo, the first official promo by Karrion Kross. Of course, the smoke show. Scarlett Bordeaux, she was there. Sorry, I kind of had a moment there, so don't mind me. But they were just there carrying, talking about being away for a year, being away, and everything was going on. And now that they're back and they are looking for carnage, doomsday, very effective promo. Then we had Drew McIntyre. He was trying to talk about what happened, and he basically turned his attention to Karrion first, then went after Roman. Well, next thing we know, Scarlett shows up. She gets right to the apron of the ring, only for the Usos to attack and jump. Drew McIntyre, right before our very eyes, 2-on-1 beatdown. Effective promo by everybody involved. And then I love the final factor is that Jey Uso looking at Scarlett saying, this is bloodline territory. And Scarlett kind of laughed it off saying, yeah, that was funny. Uh-oh. You know what happens if you try to mess with Scarlett. The killer comes out. And it's doomsday for the Usos. Anthony Florio, it's yours, my friend.
No doubt about this, MF. This was the segment of the night, hands down. And Triple H and his creative team have done an effective job early on in creating this 3-way feud for the undisputed Universal Championship. Drew McIntyre is no nonsense and picking fights with 2 heels. Roman Reigns is staying out of Dodge, and Karrion Kross is hell-bent on reestablishing himself as a harbinger of doom, who will take his opportunities rather than waiting for them. Thus far, he has told a coherent story that in lesser hands could be bungled from the beginning. Introducing the Usos and utilizing Scarlett the Smoke Show as more than just a voiceless sidekick were solid moves that prevent the overexposure of the central figures. McIntyre threatened Cross by saying, "I will send you back to that dungeon you crawled out of." And then Drew saying, "Gather around, look at the shocked faces, Roman's not at work." And Jey Uso warning Scarlett, "Tell your boy Karrion Kross that if he steps up to the tribal chief, the bloodline will put his ass down." Effective is the word of the day when it comes to this segment. And like I said, Triple H and his creative team should be very much commended for how effectively they have booked this just a couple weeks in. And segment of the night, no doubt about it. Everybody played their roles beyond well. And MF, oh boy. That main event scene on Smackdown, oh boy. With Roman, Drew, and Cross. Oh boy. Imagine the Be a Man fights that are going to come out of this.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a lot of fun with it. It's going to be very interesting to watch. And now we are going to talk about the water cooler moment of the night. And yes, it needs to be addressed. As it was a tag team match, as we had Brandon Scott and Trevor Urban, two local guys. I guess they were just, they've been, independent wrestlers. They've been competing. They're probably from the Carolina area, probably Raleigh, because they were in NC State. So they're probably from that part of the country. Well, they went up against Shanti the Adonis and Top Dollar of Hit Row. Yes, they are back in WWE. And not only are they back, but B-Fab is back as well. This is interesting. This is crazy because think about this. The only thing we know about Top Dollar is that he normally does the WWE Most Wanted, basically the Most Wanted show on A&E, and that he's one of the guys that would always help try to retrieve some of the lost artifacts, greatest treasures in WWE history to bring it back to the archives. He's normally the driver and sometimes the deal maker to try to make deals with some of these great collectors to try to get some of the greatest memorabilia of WWE lore. I know, Anthony, you watch it very religiously because of the background and the history of it. I do too. There's been some very good shows that they've had in the past of that. But now
the Ric Flair butterfly robe episode was hands down the cut above the rest of that series.
Oh, absolutely. But they brought it back, and now Hit Row's back, and everybody's excited. Now there is a little bit of a twist here because, as you know, the leader of Hit Row was Swerve, but remember, he's now in AEW. He's one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions. Is it possible? Now, this was more a showcase than anything else, and just for the WWE Universe to get reintroduced into Hit Row. I know who these guys are. These guys are awesome. They are, without a doubt, class. They're awesome. I love their gimmick. I love that attitude. And they are gonna be a problem in WWE. The tag team division, a much needed boost in that division here tonight. Hit Row's back, and Uncle Trips Hunter, thank you, brother, man. You've been nailing us, hitting us left and right over the stick with all these surprises, and you did it again. But not only did you bring, we knew Shanti the Adonis and Top Dollar. We were hearing that they were in Raleigh. We were hearing all week that they were in Raleigh. So chances are they were going to show up. We did not know B-Fab was also there. That was a complete surprise. I was floored. Florio was floored because we talked about it. We had a brief little chat, messenger chat, and we knew about the two guys being there. We did not know BFAB was there too. What a pleasant surprise that was. And oh my goodness, game changer on SmackDown. Dude, the tag team division on SmackDown is starting to get a little stacked here, bro. It's starting to get a little loaded. I'm liking this, man. The Blue Brand finally got some legit tag team blood in that division.
Man, all right. First things first. 2 words: delicious squash. That's all there. That's all you need to say about the match. Absolute dud, obviously, but I will say this: the energy was up throughout the sprint of this delicious squash, and the charisma was in abundance as the 3 NXT exports addressed the crowd after the match. BFAB labeled the 3 of them 3OG, no doubt in reference to the fact that Swerve Strickland is no longer with the company and is in AEW, and is currently one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions, alongside another former NXT export, Keith Lee. Considering the lack of depth in the tag team division, Hit Row is a welcome addition and has the potential to turn into a hugely popular act for the company given its athleticism, charisma, and energy they bring to every performance. BFAB returning alongside Ashante the Adonis and Top Dollar AJ Francis was a great redemption story for a performer who was unceremoniously cut before she could ever really make her presence felt on the main roster last fall. But then again, you can say the same thing for Adonis and Top Dollar as well. I mean, they made it to SmackDown on the main roster last fall, but they were only there for like a cup of coffee, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they were all gone. But obviously, that was a McMagma, Blubber Love, Kevin Dunn, Bucky Beaver decision. But the trash is out. The trash has been taken out. No more McMagma. Yeah, Blubber Love still has a job by a thread. Same can be said for Bucky Beaver. But the one thing is, Vinnie Mac and Mr. John Laurinaitis, they're both sitting at home where they belong, both of them. With all due respect.
That will be out soon enough. Like they already acknowledged that his days are numbered. And as far as
Bruce Pritchard,
his role is diminished. He's no longer he got demoted, so he's no longer has anything creative.
Praise the Lord for that. And but it's great to see these guys back. This is another case where, you know, I'm not crazy about the gimmick, but their athletic abilities are to be commended, and these guys can work, and it's great to it's nice to see them back. I mean, they definitely got a Raw deal, especially BFAB, but I'm glad that Triple H, you know, another what they're calling make rights, and this is another make right. And over the last 2+ weeks, we've had another butt make rights with Dakota Kai and Io Shirai at SummerSlam, and then Karrion Kross, and now with Hit Row. I mean, who's going to be next? That's the big question. I mean, there are rumors going around about possibly Bray Wyatt possibly finally coming back. I've even heard rumors about Braun Strowman possibly coming back.
Yep.
But
Johnny Gargano,
yeah, maybe Candice. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe Candice.
But another make right here for by Uncle Trips and Papa H, whatever you want to call him. But he's definitely making a lot of things right in the last few weeks. And I'll tell you, MF, you mentioned it. You know, the lack of depth in the tag team division right now, with the Usos running and ruling that division with the most iron of fists. And big question is, after they got by the Street Profits the second time, we were asking ourselves, okay, if not the Street Profits and if not the New Day, then who could be the team that could finally dethrone and end the reign of terror of the Usos as the undisputed tag team champions. Could these boys possibly be the ones? Possibly.
I know a lot of fans are very high on them, so I mean, it would be a great moment if they end up winning it all.
Could you
But we'll
imagine the
see.
rub they would get from that?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's quite a few teams right now that legitimately can say we could win this. Obviously, the Profits, and you know that Triple H is very high on them, so you know that they can get another shot. He also was very high on Hit Row. I think Hit Row, if they didn't get the Raw deal the first time around, I think they would be tag team champions right now in WWE, or at least had a reign as tag champion. Obviously, Viking Raiders, even though they got this rivalry right now with New Day, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
And it's a heel thing.
Yeah, heel, but I think they're better as heels.
I agree.
I mean, they've been better as heels, so it works. Then you never know. They could call a team up from NXT, to possibly challenge them for the tag titles. Or there's a team out in the UK, well, Jansen and Briggs, who are right now the NXT UK champs. If whenever they drop those belts, they could get called up. They would be a legit threat. Instant.
How about even though they're the current NXT American Tag Team Champions, what about the Creeds?
Absolutely, yes. Creed easily could be a threat for the title, no doubt.
Maybe even Pretty Deadly.
They still got some work in progress. They're relatively young.
Yeah,
but the Creed definitely.
A lot to think about, but so little time to. It's a lot to make sense of. We'll put it that way. It's a lot to make sense of right now.
And not only that, but also watch out, because what about these other teams outside of WWE? Now they're starting to see what's going on.
A Forbidden Door, possibly?
Oh yeah, definitely. Forbidden Door could open up. Definitely. So who knows? So after that, let's just gonna move right on along. So next up, we were supposed to have a contract signing for the WWE Women's. The SmackDown Women's title at Clash at the Castle. But what's this? Ronda Rousey in the building? Yeah, she went over the crowd, hopped over the fence, went right into the ring, had a bag. And it wasn't just any type of bag. Man, there was some money. Moolah, the greenback. It would have made Ted DiBiase blush. Because it was about 100 grand. And she said she doubled that. So 200 grand on that table? Whoa.
It was like Mayweather. It was like Floyd Mayweather money.
Oh yeah. That was Mayweather money, man. I was like, whoa. Dude, I would hop in that ring right now, and I would at least grab a few grand right now. I could use some of that money right now. Too.
Who could? Yeah. I'd be right there behind you.
But anyway, so Ronda comes out. She's like, well, I paid my fine. And so she's like, you know what? It's going to be what it is. And I'm not leaving the ring because here comes security. Here comes some referees. And she's like, well, you want me out of here? Make me get out. She leaves the ring, grabs the female security guard, judo throws her, about to break her arm. And then thought better, and I'm like, you know what? Nah, I'm just gonna go. Everybody was chanting Rousey. He was getting a great face pop, and then Shayna Baszler come out, and she's like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? I mean, you want to make an impact? All right, fine, I get it, but this is my moment. What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And Rousey looked at her. She's like, "You used to be a killer. I don't know what this is," and walked out. Well, Shayna Baszler cut her promo for herself, signed the contract, done deal. Then Liv Morgan comes out, mixed reaction, probably more cheers than boos this time around. Signs her contract. It's official. Baszler tries to get the jump on Liv Morgan and effectively started going after that bad arm, the same arm that Ronda Rousey injured at SummerSlam. But there was a mistake she made. She got a little too overzealous and sliced bread number 2 through the table. Oh my God. So it was fun for what it was worth. It wasn't really that new. It was newsworthy enough. Great to see Ronda back. He paid the fine. It looks like she's gonna be a factor at a Clash at the Castle. Maybe waiting for the winner. Maybe we see a little bit of the possibility of the return of the 4 horsewomen of MMA. I mean, I know Marina Shafir right now is in AEW, but I have not seen her on TV in a while. And Jessamine Duke, we haven't even seen her in ages. Ever since she got let go the first time around, and we haven't seen her come back. So we don't even know if she's even wrestling anymore. Anthony Florio, lots of guys guessed here, but Ronda comes back to a huge pop, great surprise. And then Liv Morgan got a little bit of a leg up on Shayna Baszler.
Well, this was the second best segment of the night because it was a surprisingly strong segment. Ronda Rousey showed more personality here than she has in every one of her promos since returning at the Royal Rumble in January, and the fans responded accordingly. They were overwhelmingly in her favor, to the point that she was clearly one of the more over competitors on the show to this point. Liv Morgan continued to flirt with heeldom, emphatically reminding everyone that she beat Rousey twice, while insultingly referring to Baszler as a ripoff of her bestie. Turning Liv Morgan heel would be the wrong move, given her underdog climb to the top, but the fans may demand it, especially if Rousey remains as over as she has been to this point. Of interest is the interaction between Baszler and Rousey. Might the baddest woman on the planet help the Queen of Spades rediscover her edge in championship ways? Or will Baszler turn on Rousey and ignite the rivalry that seemed like a sure thing not all that long ago? And Rousey spread that money across the contract table saying being the baddest gets expensive, but I can afford it. And then Baszler to Rousey, you have to play by the rules. And then Rousey responded, reminding the Queen of Spades, you used to be a killer. Yeah. Very well done, to say the very least. Second best segment of the night here. And, wow, MF, when was the last time we had multiple strong segments, talking segments, on any given show?
Man, it's been a long time. Like, we gotta go all the way back to maybe Ruthless Aggression era. Because especially PG era WWE, there hasn't been that many. Maybe like the interaction between Cena and Miz, or maybe Cena and Roman. There was some good stuff
Cena
there.
Roman. That Cena Roman one was unbelievable.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
And then maybe the battle rap on the 4th of July between the Usos and the New Day.
With Wale, yeah.
With Wale at Staples.
And I remember two other standout segments of the PG era. John Cena and Daniel Bryan on the Miz TV before the SummerSlam 2013. Mm-hmm. That was great. And one of the great segments in SmackDown history, and one that you and I had fun with back in 2016 in Cleveland, that epic Miz TV segment with the Miz and Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah. So there's been some great moments, no doubt. All right, so next up we had was the Usos. They went up against Drew McIntyre, and they told him, pick a partner, anybody. They were looking for a fight. Midway through the fight, Madcap Moss showed up, and he's like, yeah, let's do this. All right, so Madcap Moss and Drew McIntyre, and they win it. 9 minutes and 15 seconds. Sami Zayn kind of get involved, and oops, that is not going to make Roman very happy. Let's just say that. Florio, is yours.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'll say second best fight of the night here. I'll give this about 3 stars for the effort. High energy tag match that allowed Drew McIntyre to shine ahead of Clash at the Castle and provided Madcap Moss a little of that main event rub, courtesy of the red hot babyface and the equally as over Usos. There will be some who'd announce the idea of McIntyre and a random partner being the tag team champions, and they would be right. The Usos are a historically great team, and dropping a match to McIntyre and Madcap is a curious choice for sure. Unless it is designed specifically to plant the seeds of a breakup of the bloodline, or the inevitable beatdown of Sami Zayn by Jimmy and Jay. McIntyre and Moss exchanged the slightest look of distrust in what is one of those little things that pays respect to their previous feud and catapults things forward. Hopefully we get more of those as Triple H entrenches himself as the undisputed creative lead in WWE. So this was without a doubt a solid 3-star, maybe 3.25, but I'm leaning more towards 3 for the effort. Second best fight of the night. And MF, yes, that's right. I mean, remember, start of this year, Drew McIntyre was embroiled in that feud, not just with Happy Corbin, but with Madcap Moss. And we had those never-ending matches with McIntyre and Moss. And go figure, at the start of this year, they were damn near killing each other, and now a good, 7 months or so later, they're now partners? Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very much so.
Very interesting. 3 stars. MF, your thoughts?
Yeah, 3 stars. Definitely a great match. Solid. I guess you could say this was a solid co-main event. And yeah, you basically said everything that needed to be said. So there's really nothing more to add here. Which leads us to the main event of the evening: Gunther versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship. And Gunther wins the match, 14 minutes, 20 seconds. Unbelievable main event, an incredible match. 3.5 stars for me. Definite heartbreak for Nakamura. I really thought tonight was going to be the night he wins the title, but Gunther successfully defends the title. Absolute banger of a match. The chops, the battle, that Bombay knee, that Kinshasa, the Bombay knee to the back of Gunther. Man, that was stiff, man. I was like, oh, the chops, absolutely devastating. Did you see the welts on Nakamura's chest? God, you could feel it. You could sense it. This was a war and a battle of attrition. Anthony Florio, they brought honor and prestige to the Intercontinental title tonight. Great vignette earlier in the evening, laying out the lineage and the history. And then we got ourselves a fight of the night banger. 3.5 stars. Gunther, still the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion.
NMF, remember where you were when for the first time in a very long time, and again I ask, when was the last time we could say an Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship match main evented a TV taping?
Yeah, it's been a very long time since an IC title fight has ended the show.
We got to give it up for Uncle Trips again, man, because he did it again. I mean, to let these two to not only book this match, to book the match was one thing, but to give these boys the main event spot. Wow, that's amazing. That's
and almost 15 minutes. Almost 15 minutes of actual wrestling. Yes, there was a commercial in between, so you're thinking about maybe 20 minutes of actual airtime on Fox.
Trust me, if we were in Raleigh tonight, we would be giving this a much higher rating. We probably would have been giving this probably what?
Somewhere between 4 and 4.25, maybe 4.5.
Yeah, depending on what happened during the break. But for this one, I'm gonna give it 3.5 to teetering on 3.75 of a star. This was the fight of the night. The chants of "This is awesome" were well deserved as Shinsuke Nakamura and Gunther tore the house down to end the show. It was a hard-hitting physical encounter that reminded fans that beyond the mannerisms and entrance, the artist is still a damn fine in-ring performer when he is motivated. Gunther continued his streak of superb in-ring performances, but it was Ludwig Kaiser staring at the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship on 2 different occasions in the post-match moments that proved most interesting. Might the mouthpiece of the Reign General have championship aspirations of his own? And could Gunther's greatest challenge eventually come from within the remnants of Imperium? That a seething Nakamura stared down Gunther as the show went off the air suggests their issues are far from over. The clothesline by Gunther that rocked Nakamura was rough and set up a great near fall. And Nakamura staring down Gunther to insinuate a rematch may be on the horizon. I don't know. We certainly wouldn't mind it, especially if we're going to get a match like what we got tonight. And MF, you addressed this. You talked about this last Monday night on Ridiculously Raw, when we talked about how great that U.S. title match with Bobby Lashley and Ciampa. And you had very high hopes going into this match tonight. And sure enough, they proved you right. So 3.5, 3.75, fight of the night, no doubt about it. And as someone who has great respect and admiration and appreciation for the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship, you've seen my belt. You've seen the old school replica championship belt that I have in my collection. I've shown it on this program many of times. And because that's how much I respect and appreciate it. I bought that thing almost 2 years ago. I've had that thing for a little over 2 years now. Hard to believe that I've had it for 2 years already. It's crazy, but it's how fast time goes nowadays, folks. But man, as someone, like I said, as someone who appreciates the hell out of that belt, and I do, it brought a smile to my face, but at the same time, it also brought a tear to my eye because I was so happy to see that title that I grew up with, that we grew up with, being, and it had the feel of an old school 80s, 90s Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship match. So, and that video, and that video that they did, oh my goodness. I was trying very hard not to get emotional during that because that was beautifully done, and that's all I can say. So, the vignette was great. The match was just as great. So, tonight, for the first time in many years, the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship felt prestigious. Thank you, Triple H. 3.5, 3.75 overall review.
It's yours.
7.5 to 8. I gotta call it. 3 quality matches. Nakamura and Gunther stole the show in the main event. We had a solid impromptu tag team match with the Usos, and McIntyre and Moss. That women's tag team match was solid as well. Throw in those 2 very good in-ring segments, and hey, we're getting there. We're moving in that. We're trending in that positive direction. So now we're at that point where we can say Raw and SmackDown, they both mean something again, and it's going to make the Raw versus SmackDown rivalry even more fun than what we had before. And we're going to keep saying, all right, top this. Well, both shows brought it. So, and if you saw the match that's been announced for this Monday night on Raw, you know, the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship was on full display tonight. Well, guess what? The United States Heavyweight Championship is gonna get that prestigious rub again come Monday night. Wait till you hear what I have to say about that when I set the table for Ridiculously Raw Monday night. So, at the end of the show, future content. So not much more to say. 7.5 to 8. MF, both of our shows, Raw and SmackDown. NXT still needs some work. There's still some of that funny haha nonsense in there,
Yeah.
but Raw, but my Raw, your SmackDown, we keep going this route at this rate. The Raw versus SmackDown rivalry for the first time, maybe since the original extent, it's gonna mean something.
And I think that's the key thing is because of the fact that back then it was always Raw was good and SmackDown was had some down shows, and then there was the years where SmackDown was better than Monday Night Raw, where SmackDown was awesome but Raw was falling apart and nothing in between. I think this is really the first time in a long time where both shows are equally good. There hasn't been any bad. And this has been since Triple H took over. And you notice it. The difference is night and day, folks. So set 7.5 to 7.75. I could make an argument for 8, definitely, but I'm going more 7.75. 7.75 is my rating for this month for the SmackDown Live. I thought they did a really good job. All right, off to AEW. We're gonna start off with the Triple A Mixed Tag Team Championship. Yes, they got mixed tag team titles in AAA, and the current champions are Ty Conte and Sammy Guevara, and they went up against Sky Blue and Dante Martin. When it was all said and done, the winners of the bout in 7 minutes and 15 seconds, and still the AAA Mixed Tag Team Champions Ty Conte and Sammy Guevara. It was a solid opener. This was a good match. I mean, it could have been a lot more than anything else. It was still good. It's about 2.5 stars. And again, they really established it. It was a very good matchup. So I actually don't mind it. So yeah, nothing more to say. Anthony, it is yours.
What was that time again?
7 minutes, 15 seconds.
7:15. All right. Match ended up being good, but not great. There were some timing issues between Ty Mello and Sky Blue that led to a few moves looking awkward. They don't have a lot of experience working together, but Dante Martin and Sammy Guevara turned up the heat whenever they got in the ring. Mello was able to get the win for her team with the TKO to Blue. And even with a slight lack of chemistry in some areas, this was a fun outing. And the mixed tag titles have a nice design. They look much better than the AAA tag titles that Tiara's been carrying around for a little while. Sky Blue moves around the ring well, but her strikes need some work. It's too obvious she's holding back. She needs to figure out how to make them look realistic without hurting her opponents, and she'll be fine. And the camera misses Guevara shoving Mello out of the way so Martin wouldn't hit her with a tope suicida. And Martin jumping up and Dante jumping off of Ty Mello's back to hit a Canadian destroyer on Sammy was a fun ass spot. 2.5, 2.75. Move on.
All right, next up we had was Parker Bordeaux going up against Sonny Kiss. Parker Bordeaux wins the match in 58 seconds. This is that dude who's like very, almost like a lookalike of a young Brock Lesnar, right?
This was the Parker Boudreaux was Harlan in NXT who was hanging around Joe Gacy.
Ah,
That's who
gotcha.
that is.
Gotcha. All right. It was a squash. We're gonna have
Delicious
nothing more.
squash.
Yeah. Next up we had was the Gun Club, Colton and Austin Gunn. They went up against Danhausen, and he decided to bring out Eric Redbeard. All right. Well, unfortunately, the Gun Club won the match in 7 minutes. So, Florio, what's yours?
2.25, 2.5. I mean, this match had quite a bit of comedy, which is to be expected whenever Danhausen is involved. Eric Redbeard would take care of the powerhouse spots whenever he was in the ring, but most of this was the Guns trying to hurt Danhausen for giving them the Ass Boys nickname. Danhausen was on defense most of the time, but Redbeard would take over whenever he tagged in. Guns looked good, but this match was nothing to write home about. It was good, but not memorable, to be honest with you. And AEW should sign Redbeard. He could be a fun addition to that roster. The company could use a few more big men like him. And the big man looked like he was in the best shape of his life. He has slimmed down since the last time he appeared on AEW television. And the double suplex to both members of the Gun Club was a nice spot. But you noticed after the match, what any father would do for a son or sons in this case, tough love. And you saw the tough love from Mr. Ass himself, Billy Gunn. So yeah, and this Wednesday night on Dynamite, they're gonna have a chance to get it right, and they're gonna be squaring off against the Varsity Blondes, Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison. So we'll see how that goes down Wednesday night in Charleston, West Virginia on Dynamite. So
Yeah.
if they lose,
Ooh.
Papa Billy
Oh no.
Papa Billy's gonna, no pun intended, he's gonna give them a serious ass whooping. So
Yeah.
he's gonna move beyond. He's gonna move way past tough love, and that's it. So
The other thing is about Eric Redbeard. Watch out for WWE
that's
because
right. Yeah,
remember with the Wyatt thing, if Strowman comes back, could we see the revival of not only the Firefly Funhouse? Is it possible they could bring back the Wyatt family?
and it'll be very interesting to see how those three will function. Of course, without Mr. Brody Lee. So
Without Luke Harper.
yeah. So
Without Luke Harper. It would be so weird, but
if that happens, he'll be smiling down.
oh yeah.
He'd be saying, "Boy, howdy, I wish I could be there," but
I think you know what? He had a lot of great fun. I think he would really excel under this new leadership of WWE. I think if he was still alive, but he had like a career job in AEW. There was no doubt he was being primed to be one of the best in AEW, maybe a future world champion. Because he was the TNT champion right around the time of his passing.
yeah. So
Well, we'll see.
2.25, 2.5. Let's get to the. Unless you've given your thoughts, let's. Did you give your thoughts on this yet?
Yeah, it was fine. It was okay, like you said. I'd say about 2 stars. I'm not really going to go too much.
No.
Main event: Ario Daivari versus Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy wins the match in 12 minutes and 4 seconds. This was a solid close. This was a good match. 3 to 3.5 stars. I liked the body of work. I thought everything was fine. It could have been a little better in certain spots, but I'm not going to be like really, really harsh about it. I thought they did a good job. So Florio, go.
This match followed the same pattern as just about every bout Orange Cassidy is in. He jokes around a bit. His opponent controls the offense for most of the bout, and then Cassidy makes the comeback. The predictability of how this would play out is one of the downsides of being a comedic performer most of the time. And as Orange began to build up some momentum, the people at ringside began to get involved. And Cassidy saved Best Friends from Boudreaux, but it gave Daivari a chance to recover, but still it wasn't enough as Orange won it with the punch there. Sonny Kiss came out to stand next to Cassidy as he had to stand up with Boudreaux, but then Kiss turned around and kicked the Orange below the belt to join the Trustbusters. Show ended with Daivari celebrating with his group. 3.25 stars. Orange Cassidy's entrance music, which is the classic Jefferson Starship song Jane, is just about as over with the crowd as he is. And even JR put that over on commentary. And the way Slim J wears his visor has not been cool since the 80s. It might not have been even cool back then. It's just awful. But the one good thing about it was Cassidy's Tornado DDT. It almost always looks good. So that's all there is to say on that. So 3.25. Overall review, yeah. Aside from the opening segment with Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia, I mean that Danielson Garcia segment, that was very well done. That was far and away the best thing on this show. And I can honestly say it was a very underwhelming card, to say the very least. But the Danielson Garcia thing, I mean, that segment was outstanding and hyped up their rematch on Wednesday night perfectly. Short and sweet, but allowed both men to say everything they needed to say. And yeah, that was far and away the best thing. And if the best thing on the show is a segment, then yeah, you got problems. Couple of solid matches here and there, so I could probably only give this like 6.5. SmackDown definitely won this night tonight, so nothing more to say. MF take it home, and then we'll set up the future content.
I hate to say this, but there's a very distinction between Rampage and Dynamite. Dynamite is definitely the A show, where Rampage is clearly the B show. Like you could tell the way that they book the shows and everything else. But the thing is, if it's supposed to be a B show, you're supposed to be better than SmackDown, and you're not even close to that. I'm sorry. SmackDown definitely won tonight, and ratings wise and everything else. Now I get it. SmackDown's on a network television, and AEW Rampage is not. It's on cable. But still, the quality of the show, the difference between 1 hour to 2 hours, there's really nothing here that would even tell you remotely close where this is going. I mean, when Dynamite goes up against Raw and you compare it, you could tell, especially now, Dynamite was beating Raw. But now with Triple H there, the balance of power is starting to shift a little bit. Now you're starting to see that it's almost evenly matched. Where with Rampage and SmackDown, no different. It's night and day. SmackDown is beating Rampage, and it's not even close. So I got really nothing more to add. Nothing more. All right, Anthony, come on in. Let's start the future content with Ridiculously Raw on Monday night.
You ready for this, MF? This is something that I found on WWE's Instagram account a little after we started the show. Monday Night on Raw from Washington, D.C. I mentioned there was going to be a United States Heavyweight Championship match. Oh, you thought last week was good? This could be even better. Bobby Lashley is going to defend the United States Heavyweight Championship against the phenomenal AJ Styles. Let's go!
Wow! Whoa! AJ and Lashley. That's a good one. That's a good match.
Show stealer.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, man. When I saw that, my heart immediately got full of excitement. I mean, thinking about the history of those two, not only both former U.S. champions, let's also not forget, both of these men former TNA Impact heavyweight champions.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of history. They're saying this is the first time they've ever met, so...
It is. They've never faced off against each other. This is first time ever.
Of course, in addition to that, we're also going to see Alexa Bliss and Asuka square off against Nikki ASH and Doudrop in the next first round match of the Women's Tag Team Title Tournament. And those are the selling points from Monday Night Raw in Washington, D.C. on Monday Night Ridiculously Raw. We're going to review that Raw. And then in a special Tony's Take, I'm going to have the results of the Impact Wrestling Emergence Special that went down earlier this evening from the Cicero Stadium in Cicero, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. And there's one match that I'm most certainly going to be waxing poetic about that stole the damn show, and I'm not at all surprised that it did. So, and I can also confirm history was made as a champion, as one of their championships changed hands tonight, and it wasn't even on the main card. It was on the pre-show. Go figure. So I'm gonna get into that. So Monday night, it'll be our Raw review, headlined by Lashley versus Styles for the U.S. title, and I will have my review and results of Impact Wrestling Emergence, and that'll be on Monday night. And MF, what else do we have on the pipeline?
Well, of course, not only that, but we also got Wednesday Night Madness, AEW, Dynamite, and NXT 2.0, which is the Heatwave show. And then on Thursday, we're actually going to do TXN Sports World. We're actually going to do what we missed And then some added stuff that just got added to the docket. We'll talk about the Field of Dream games. We're talking about some. We
Bill
also have
Russell.
some late breaking news coming out of the NFL. Um, Zach Wilson, severe, possible major problems with the New York Jets. Zach Wilson down with an injury. It is believed and feared to be a torn ACL. Nothing confirmed. An MRI will be done tomorrow, but it is being told by multiple sources that we might have an ACL injury. But we'll see. And then, of course, everything that we did not get through, we'll do it. And then, of course, we're going to set up the big one, the finals for the big three. That's going to be in Atlanta. So we got that. Of course, 1 week from tonight, we do it all over again at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel, as we do another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, another recap of Smackdown and AEW Rampage. So with that said, thank you so much, everybody. Anthony Florio, thank you so much. And for you guys out there, have a great night. We'll see you guys on Monday for Ridiculously Raw. Until then, have a good night, everybody, and so long for now.